I trusted him. Completely. I thought he saw me, the real me. My ideas, my dreams, the late nights I poured into my work. I thought he cared about what I was building, about the fire in my heart. But he wasn't watching me like a friend. No, he was watching for something to take. My boss, Nathan, stole my startup idea. He took it like it was nothing, like it belonged to him. He thought he'd won, thought he'd outsmarted me. He didn't know I'd left a trap, waiting to snap shut. Let me take you back. Back to the moment everything changed. The moment I saw him for what he was, a thief, a liar. The moment I understood I couldn't just sit there and let him win. I had to fight back, but not with shouts or fists. I had to be smarter. I had to plan. That's when I knew what I had to do, when the idea of the trap started forming in my mind. It wasn't about revenge, not yet. It was about taking back what was mine. My name's Alex. I was 27, full of fire and big dreams. I'd spent years working hard, teaching myself how to code, staying up late with ideas that kept me awake. I wanted to build something real, something that mattered. My startup idea was simple but special, a platform that used smart technology to connect freelancers with small businesses. No big companies taking a cut, no unfair fees. Just people helping each other, building their dreams together. I called it Connect Sphere. I wasn't rich. I didn't know powerful people. I was just a guy with determination and a laptop. To pay my bills, I worked at Tech Trend Innovations, a tech company that was doing okay, but wasn't anything huge. My boss, Nathan, was the kind of person who could light up a room. He wore fancy suits, flashed big smiles, and had a way of making you feel important. He'd slap you on the back, call you champ, and talk like you were part of something amazing. I looked up to him. I thought he saw my potential, maybe even believed in me. But I was wrong. I spent every spare moment working on Connect Sphere. After work, I'd sit at my tiny apartment table, coding until my eyes burned. I sketched out plans, dreamed about how it could change lives. I wasn't just building an app. I was building a future. I imagined freelancers finding steady work, small businesses growing without greedy middlemen. It felt like my purpose. At Tech Trend, I kept my project quiet. It was mine, not the company's. But one day, I decided to share a piece of it with Nathan. He was the CEO, after all. He'd started Tech Trend from nothing, so I thought he'd get it. Maybe he'd give me advice, or even want to help fund it. I was nervous but excited when I walked into his office, my pitch deck ready on my laptop. Nathan's office was sleek, all glass and polished wood. He leaned back in his big chair, smirking as I started talking. I showed him my Connect Sphere pitch. Not everything, just enough to explain the idea. I told him about the platform, how it would connect people, how it could grow. He listened, nodding, scribbling notes on a pad. His eyes were sharp, focused. "This is bold, Alex," he said when I finished. "Game-changing." His words hit me like a warm wave. I felt seen, like he understood what I was trying to do. I left his office practically floating, my heart pounding with hope. But something didn't sit right. As I walked back to my desk, a tiny voice in my head whispered. Nathan's questions had been intense. He'd asked about details, timelines, how the tech worked, what the market could be. Stuff I hadn't expected. It wasn't just curiosity. It felt like he was digging. I shook it off. He's a CEO, I told myself. He's just thorough. He's supposed to ask hard questions. Still, that nagging feeling wouldn't go away. Weeks went by. I kept working on Connect Sphere in my free time, coding late into the night, saving every penny for a prototype. I was tired but happy, chasing something that felt bigger than me. At work, though, Nathan started acting strange. He'd swing by my desk, all casual, asking about my little side project. His voice was light, but his eyes were different, sharp, like he was studying me. "How's that app coming, Alex?" he'd say, leaning too close. I'd laugh, say something vague, switch the topic. But it started to creep me out. I got careful. I locked my laptop every time I left my desk. I didn't trust that look in his eyes anymore. Then, everything fell apart. It was a regular company meeting, the kind where everyone gathers in the conference room, sipping bad coffee. Nathan stood at the front, all smiles, ready to share a new initiative. The projector hummed, and a slide popped up. My heart stopped. It was my idea. My Connect Sphere logo, tweaked just enough to look different, rebranded as Trend Connect. Nathan was pitching it like it was his, calling it Tech Trend's next big thing. Every feature, every detail, it was mine. Stolen. The room clapped. My coworkers nodded, impressed. Nathan grinned, soaking it up. I sat there, frozen, my face pale. My stomach twisted like I'd been punched. I felt the blood drain from my body. I understood. He hadn't just taken my idea. He'd taken my dream, my work, my future. He'd passed it off as his own, and everyone believed him. I couldn't breathe. The meeting ended, and people filed out, chatting about how brilliant TrendConnect was. I stayed in my chair, staring at the floor. My hands shook. I wanted to scream, to run up to Nathan and demand answers. But I waited. I needed to face him alone. That evening, I went to his office. The building was quiet, most people gone. Nathan sat at his desk, typing, looking smug as ever. I closed the door behind me. "You took my idea," I said. My voice trembled, but I didn't care. I expected him to deny it, to act shocked. He didn't. "Ideas are cheap, Alex," he said, not even looking up. "Execution's what matters. You should be flattered." Flattered? The word hit me like a slap. I wanted to yell, to smash his fancy desk. My idea wasn't cheap. It was years of my life, my heart, my hope. But Nathan kept talking, calm and cold. "You're a coder, not a CEO," he said. "Stick to what you're good at." Then he offered me a promotion. He wanted me to lead the TrendConnect dev team, to build my own idea under his name. It was a bribe, a way to keep me quiet, a leash to keep me in line. I stared at him, my fists clenched so tight my nails dug into my palms. I didn't say a word. I turned and walked out, my head spinning. I got in my car and just sat there. Rain poured down, streaking the windows, matching the storm inside me. I was angry, so angry I could barely think. But under the anger was something worse, helplessness. I could have quit right then, walked away from TechTrend and never looked back. I could have tried to sue, to tell the world what Nathan did. But I had nothing to prove it. No emails, no signed papers, no witnesses. It was my word against his, and Nathan was rich, connected, powerful. I was nobody. I gripped the steering wheel, the rain hammering louder. That's when it hit me. I couldn't fight him the normal way. Shouting wouldn't work. Lawyers wouldn't work. Nathan was too slick, too protected. If I wanted to win, I had to be smarter than him. I had to play his game, but better. I understood. Understood I couldn't face him head on. Understood I needed a plan, something quiet, something sharp, something he'd never see coming. That night, sitting in my car, the first spark of an idea formed. It wasn't clear yet, but it was there, a way to take back what was mine. I didn't know how long it would take or what it would cost me, but I knew one thing for sure. Nathan thought he'd won. He thought I was beaten. He was wrong. I didn't sleep that night, or the next. My mind was racing, my heart heavy with anger. But I went back to work at TechTrend like nothing was wrong. I smiled at Nathan's stupid jokes, nodded when he talked, acted like the perfect employee. Inside, though, I was burning. Every time I saw his smug face, I wanted to shout the truth. But I didn't. I couldn't let him win. Not like this. I had to be smart, careful, patient. I was going to take back what was mine, and I was going to do it my way. Back at my small apartment, I sat at my cluttered table, surrounded by empty coffee cups and stacks of coding books. My laptop was my only weapon now. I opened it and stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keys. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was focused. I started digging, looking for anything I could use. Quietly, carefully. I didn't want anyone to suspect what I was doing, especially Nathan. That's when I noticed something. Nathan was sloppy. He thought he was untouchable, so he got careless. When he stole my ConnectSphere idea and turned it into TrendConnect, he barely changed my code. He just slapped a new logo on it, tweaked a few colors, and called it his. But the core of it? That was mine. My work, my ideas, my fingerprints all over it. That's when it hit me, a way to fight back. A trap. I'd built ConnectSphere from nothing. Every single line of code came from me, written in late-night bursts of passion. I knew that code inside and out, better than anyone. So I decided to leave something behind, something Nathan would never see. I called it a tracer, a hidden piece of code buried deep in the program. It was simple but clever. Every time TrendConnect ran, my tracer would quietly collect information: who was using it, where they were, what they were doing. Things like user IDs, locations, and deal details. And the best part? It sent a copy of all that information straight to me. Nathan wouldn't notice. He wasn't a coder. He didn't understand how the tech worked. He just sat in his fancy office, making big promises and taking credit. He relied on people like me to do the real work, to make his stolen idea shine. That was his mistake. He underestimated me. At work, I played my part. I showed up every day, kept my head down, and worked on Trend Connect like I was supposed to. I fixed bugs, sent updates, answered questions. To everyone else, I was the loyal team member, doing my job. But every chance I got, I added to my trap. I slipped in small changes, tiny pieces of code that strengthened the tracer. I was careful, making sure no one could tell what I was doing. I didn't want to get caught. Not yet. Sometimes, I'd catch Nathan watching me, his eyes narrow, like he was trying to figure me out. I'd smile, nod, act normal. But my heart would pound. Did he suspect something? Did he know I wasn't as beaten as he thought? I couldn't tell. All I could do was keep going, keep building my plan, and wait for the right moment. The day of the Trend Connect launch came fast. It was a huge event, like a circus. The Tech Trend office was transformed. Bright lights, fancy decorations, tables covered with champagne glasses. Investors in suits mingled with reporters snapping photos. Nathan was the star of the show, standing on a stage, his voice booming with confidence. He unveiled Trend Connect like it was his masterpiece, promising it would change the world. The crowd cheered, clapping like he was a hero. I stood in the back of the room, my face blank, my arms crossed. Inside, I was screaming. That was my idea up there, my work. But I didn't move. I didn't say a word. I just watched Nathan shake hands, laugh, and soak up the praise. He thought he'd won. He thought he'd gotten away with it. That night, Trend Connect went live. People started downloading it, signing up, using it. The numbers climbed fast, thousands of users in hours. The app worked perfectly, just like I designed it to. Nathan was on cloud 9, probably already counting his profits. But he didn't know the truth. My tracer was running, silent and invisible. Every time someone clicked a button, logged in, or made a deal, my tracer was watching. It was collecting everything, sending it all to a secret dashboard only I could see. Late that night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at my laptop. The screen glowed with streams of information pouring in from the tracer. User IDs, transaction logs, locations, it was all there, neat and organized. I leaned back in my chair, my eyes fixed on the data. I didn't smile. I didn't feel happy. Not yet. What I felt was clarity, like a fog had lifted, and I could finally see the path ahead. The data was my power, my leverage. It proved Trend Connect was built on my code, my idea. But it wasn't enough. Not yet. I needed more. I needed to understand Nathan, to see how far he'd go, how deep his greed ran. Was he just a thief, or was there more to his game? I had to be patient, to let the trap grow stronger. So I kept watching, kept waiting. Every day, I went to work and played the part. I laughed with my coworkers, fixed problems in the app, sat through meetings where Nathan bragged about his success. It was exhausting, pretending everything was fine. Sometimes, I'd lock myself in the bathroom, splash cold water on my face, and stare in the mirror. "You can do this," I'd whisper to myself. "You're stronger than him." At home, I checked the tracer's data every night. It was like a puzzle, each piece showing me more about how Trend Connect was being used. I saw patterns, big clients signing up, deals being made, money flowing. Nathan was getting richer, building his empire on my stolen dream. But with every piece of data, my trap got tighter. I was building a case, something solid, something he couldn't talk his way out of. Sometimes, doubt crept in. What if I got caught? What if Nathan figured out what I was doing? I'd lose everything. My job, my reputation, maybe even my chance to fight back. But then I'd think about that day in his office, his smug voice saying, "Ideas are cheap." I'd think about all the nights I'd spent coding, dreaming, believing. And I'd push the doubt away. I wasn't doing this for revenge. I was doing it for justice. For me. For Connect Sphere. Weeks turned into months. I kept my routine, work, code, wait. The tracer kept running, collecting more and more. I started thinking about the next step. The data was strong, but I needed a way to use it, a way to show the world what Nathan had done. I wasn't sure how yet, but I knew I'd find it. I just had to stay focused, stay sharp. Nathan didn't suspect a thing. He was too busy basking in his success, making deals, charming investors. He thought I was just another employee, too weak to fight back. That was his biggest mistake. He didn't know I was watching him, just like he'd watched me. He didn't know I was ready to turn his victory into his downfall. I wasn't done yet. The trap was set, but it hadn't sprung. I was waiting for the perfect moment, the moment when Nathan would realize he'd underestimated me. And when that moment came, I'd be ready. 3 months after Trend Connect launched, things started falling apart. The Tech Trend office was still busy, but the mood had changed. People whispered in corners, their voices low, nervous. I'd walk by and catch bits of conversation, words like glitches, problems, clients leaving. The app that Nathan had bragged about, the one he'd stolen from me, was starting to crack. Users were complaining. At first, it was small stuff. Buttons not working, pages loading slowly. Then it got worse. Deals fell through. Information got messed up. Big clients started pulling out, angry and loud about it. Nathan was furious. I'd hear him yelling in his office, his voice booming through the walls. He'd storm into meetings, red-faced, blaming the dev team, pointing fingers at everyone but himself. "Fix it," he'd shout, slamming his hand on the table. "You're making me look bad." My coworkers scrambled, stressed and tired, trying to patch things up. But the problems kept coming, one after another, like leaks in a sinking ship. I stayed quiet. I sat at my desk, typing away, acting like just another employee. But inside, I was calm. I knew exactly what was happening. My tracer, the hidden code I'd buried in Trend Connect, wasn't just collecting information. It was causing trouble, little by little. I'd built it to mess with the system, not enough to break it completely, but enough to create chaos. I called it my kill switch, a slow poison working its way through Nathan's stolen empire. And it was working perfectly. Every bug, every failed deal, every angry client, it was because of me. Not because I wanted to hurt people, but because I wanted Nathan to feel the weight of what he'd done. He thought he could steal my idea and get away with it. He thought I was too small to fight back. He was wrong. I didn't want to destroy Tech Trend or hurt my coworkers. That wasn't the point. I wanted justice. I wanted the world to know what Nathan had done, to see him for the thief he was. But I couldn't just walk into a courtroom with nothing. I needed proof, something solid, something he couldn't talk his way out of. That's where my tracer came in. It had been collecting information for months. Every user, every deal, every click. It showed that Trend Connect was built on my code, my Connect Sphere idea. It was my weapon, but I needed to use it the right way. I started thinking about how to get the truth out. Shouting at myself wouldn't work. Nobody would believe a random coder over a CEO like Nathan. I needed someone with a voice, someone people trusted. That's when I thought of Sarah, a tech journalist I'd met at a conference a year ago. She was tough, fair, and didn't back down from big stories. I reached out to her, nervous but hopeful. I sent her a message, keeping it vague. "I have something you need to see. It's about Tech Trend." We met at a small cafe, tucked away in a quiet part of town. The place was dim, with soft music playing, the kind of spot where nobody pays attention to you. I sat across from Sarah, my heart pounding. She looked at me, her eyes curious but guarded. "What's this about, Alex?" she asked, sipping her coffee. I took a deep breath and slid a USB drive across the table. "This is everything," I said. "Proof that Nathan stole my idea. My original Connect Sphere pitch, the code I wrote, and data showing Trend Connect is mine." Sarah raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "That's a big claim," she said. "You sure about this?" I nodded, my voice steady. "The data doesn't lie. Look at it." She took the USB drive, her expression serious. I watched her leave, my stomach in knots. I'd just handed over my biggest weapon, my only chance. If she didn't believe me, if she didn't run the story, I was done. But I trusted her. I had to. A week later, the story hit. Sarah published it on a major tech news site, and it spread like fire. The headline was brutal. Tech Trend CEO accused of stealing startup idea from employee. She laid it all out. My Connect Sphere pitch, the tracer data, proof that my code was the backbone of Trend Connect. She even included emails I'd found, ones where Nathan bragged about his idea to investors, never mentioning me. The internet went wild. Social media exploded with posts calling Nathan a fraud, a liar, a thief. People shared the article, commented, demanded answers. I was at home when I saw it. I opened my laptop, and there it was, the truth staring back at me. My hands shook as I scrolled through the comments. "This guy's a disgrace," one said. "How do you sleep at night, Nathan?" said another. For the first time in months, I felt something like relief. The world knew. They saw him for what he was. At Tech Trend, it was chaos. I wasn't there, but I heard from coworkers. Nathan was losing it, slamming doors, yelling at his assistants. He tried to spin the story, putting out a statement saying I was a jealous employee who'd sabotaged him. He claimed the tracer was proof I'd hacked the system out of spite. But nobody bought it. The data was too clear. My code predated Trend Connect. The timestamps didn't lie. Nathan's lies were falling apart, and he had nowhere to hide. Investors started pulling out, canceling deals worth millions. Clients walked away, not wanting to be tied to a sinking ship. Lawsuits piled up, some from partners, some from users affected by the glitches. Nathan's empire, built on my stolen idea, was crumbling, and I hadn't even raised my voice. The day the story broke, I walked into Tech Trend one last time. The office was quiet, the air heavy. People avoided my eyes, unsure what to say. I didn't care. I went to my desk, packed my things, a few notebooks, a coffee mug, my laptop. Then I walked to Nathan's office. He was there, staring out the window, his face pale. He didn't look at me. "I'm done," I said, my voice steady. "Good luck." He didn't answer. I turned and left, my head high. For the first time in months, I felt light, like a weight had lifted. I'd done it. I'd exposed him, not with anger or fists, but with truth. Walking out of Tech Trend felt like freedom. I got in my car, the same one where I'd sat months ago, rain pouring, planning my trap. Now the sky was clear, the sun bright. I didn't smile, not yet. But I felt something new, hope. Nathan wasn't gone, not completely. He'd fight the lawsuits, try to rebuild his name. But he was wounded, and everyone knew it. His reputation was in pieces, and that was enough for me. I thought about Sarah, about the risk she'd taken publishing the story. I sent her a message later that day, just 2 words, "Thank you." She replied with a smiley face and, "Keep building." I planned to. Connect's fear was still mine, still alive in my mind. I'd start over, do it right this time, without Nathan or anyone else stealing my dream. The tracer had done its job. It wasn't just code. It was proof, a mirror showing the world who Nathan really was. I didn't feel joy watching him fall. I felt justice. I'd taken back what was mine, not by destroying him, but by shining a light on his lies. That was my victory. 6 months after the story broke, Tech Trend was gone. The company that Nathan had built, the one he thought would make him a legend, collapsed under the weight of lawsuits and bad press. Investors walked away, clients vanished, and the office shut down. Nathan was still out there, fighting legal battles, trying to save his name. But he was finished. His reputation was in ruins, and no one trusted him anymore. I didn't gloat. I didn't throw a party or cheer when I heard the news. That wasn't me. Instead, I sat quietly, thinking about everything that had happened. I understood something important. Revenge isn't about tearing someone down. It's about taking back what's yours, about standing up and saying, "This is mine." I didn't need to see Nathan suffer to feel whole again. I just needed to rebuild what he'd tried to steal. And that's exactly what I did. I went back to Connect Sphere, my original dream. I started from scratch, no boss, no middleman, no one looking over my shoulder. I coded in my apartment, just like before, but this time it felt different. I wasn't afraid anymore. I wasn't looking behind me, wondering who might take it. I was free. Launching Connect Sphere was hard. I didn't have much money, and I was doing it alone at first. But I poured everything into it, every late night, every ounce of energy. Slowly, it started to grow. Freelancers signed up, small businesses joined. People were using it, connecting, building their dreams just like I'd imagined. Every day, I'd open my laptop and find emails from users. A graphic designer in Chicago said it helped her find steady clients. A small bakery owner wrote that she'd doubled her orders because of the platform. Those messages hit me hard. They weren't just words. They were proof that Connect Sphere was real, that it was changing lives. That was enough for me. I moved to a small cabin in the woods, a quiet place where I could think and work. It wasn't fancy, just a simple house surrounded by trees, but it felt like home. I'd sit on the porch in the evenings, sipping coffee, watching the sun sink below the horizon. The world felt calm there, like the storm inside me had finally passed. I wasn't the same person I'd been when Nathan stole my idea. I was stronger, wiser. I'd learned things I'd never forget. I don't hate Nathan anymore. Hate is heavy, like carrying a rock in your chest. It weighs you down, keeps you stuck. I let it go, not because he deserved forgiveness, but because I deserved peace. I didn't need to hold on to anger to move forward. Instead, I focused on what mattered, building something good, something honest. But I'll always remember what I learned. Trust isn't something you give away, it's something people have to earn. Nathan taught me that the hard way. He thought he could take my dream and leave me with nothing. He thought I'd give up. But when someone betrays you, You don't just fight back with fists or shouts. You outsmart them. You use your head, your heart, your strength. That's what I did. I turned his theft into my victory, not by destroying him, but by rising above him. Connect's fear kept growing. I hired a small team, people who believed in the idea as much as I did. We worked in a cozy office, nothing like Tech Trend's shiny headquarters. It was just a few desks, some laptops, and a whiteboard covered in ideas. But it felt right. We weren't chasing fame or millions. We were helping people, real people with real dreams. Every time a freelancer landed a job or a business found a new customer, it felt like a win. Not just for me, but for everyone who'd ever been told their ideas didn't matter. Sometimes, I'd get messages asking about Nathan, about what happened. People wanted the juicy details, the drama. I didn't give them much. That part of my life was over. I'd set a trap, and it worked, but that wasn't the point. The point was what came after. The point was Connect's fear, the lives it touched, the future it was building. One evening, I sat on my porch, the sky painted orange and pink. I thought about the kid I used to be, the one who stayed up late coding, dreaming of something bigger. That kid had no idea what was coming. The betrayal, the fight, the trap. But he also didn't know how strong he'd become. I shut my laptop, stood up, and looked out at the sunset. I felt whole. I'd set a trap, and it worked. It brought Nathan down, showed the world who he was. But that wasn't the real victory. The real victory was me, still here, still building, still dreaming. No one could take that away, not Nathan, not anyone. Connect's fear was mine, and it was growing, connecting thousands of people, making their lives better. My story wasn't over. It was just beginning. I walked inside, the stars starting to peek through the sky. Tomorrow, I'd open my laptop again, answer emails, code new features. I'd keep going, not because I had to prove anything, but because I wanted to. Because this was my dream, and I was living it. Life moves on. The cabin became my sanctuary, a place where I could breathe and create. My team grew, and so did Connect's fear. We weren't a huge company, and maybe we never would be. But that was okay. We were doing something real, something good. Every email from a user, every story of a freelancer finding success reminded me why I started this. It wasn't about money or fame. It was about people helping people, just like I'd always wanted. I thought about Nathan sometimes, but not often. He was a shadow now, a lesson learned. I didn't need to dwell on him to feel strong. My strength came from the work I was doing, the lives I was touching. I'd faced betrayal and come out the other side, not bitter, but better. The trap I set was just a tool, a way to reclaim what was mine. But the real power was in what I did next. I didn't let Nathan's betrayal define me. I didn't let it stop me. I kept going, kept dreaming, kept building. And that's what matters. I'm still here, still coding, still creating, still believing in something bigger. Connect's fear is alive, growing every day, connecting people across the world. It's not just an app. It's a promise, a reminder that no one can steal your dreams unless you let them. I didn't let them, and I never will.